This pop star's taking a break. Just pack it. Squeeze it.
You can get 12 fascinating issues of Zoo Books for the special price of...
Please don't change the channel, I'm trapped inside the TV, no way! When you're a kid and have an underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, it's very easy to get excited about things, like recess, or having pizza for dinner, or the release of literally any movie, because you still haven't figured out that movies can be bad yet, and probably won't until like December 14th, 2012, but none of these will ever match the pure, unadulterated excitement that you felt as a kid waiting for summer break. The second I saw buds starting to appear on the trees and felt the temperatures rising, I started bouncing on my accommodative exercise ball with the force of 1,000 ADHD kids because I knew summer break meant that the weather would be nice enough to go outside and that all my neighbors would be out of school at the same time, meaning I could finally do the one thing I loved the most: watch TV. Yeah, as a kid I was never really that athletic or anything. I remember one summer, my parents literally had to bribe me into playing a season of soccer by promising they'd buy me a DVD copy of Prisoner of Azkaban, and I gotta say, I think that was a pretty good deal. Cuaron really knocked it out of the park with that one, especially with that final frame. All I really wanted to do during summer break was watch TV, which meant I spent a lot of time watching stuff like Foster's and Floam ads. Sure, I could probably do an entire video looking back at how great TV shows were during the 2000s, but be honest with yourself. Which do you remember better? The name of the janitor from Zack and Cody, or the phone number to Empire Carpet? No matter how you look at it, these commercials we saw as kids were just as influential. And a lot of them were actually pretty good too. Like that Chef Boyardee one where the kid turns into a Jim Henson crack dream creature because he's so hungry for pasta bits with dog food in the center. As a kid, I remember asking my mom to have Chef Boyardee for dinner a lot, and I can promise you, I wasn't asking her for it because I liked it. The sauce was always way hotter than the ravioli, and it never heated up all the way to the center, and the cheese ravioli had this weird sour milk taste. I asked because I liked the commercials. I don't care what anybody says. Watching a sentient can follow a child home from the grocery store is compelling, if not questionably implicative advertising, and it definitely worked on me. In fact, a lot of the commercials from the late 2000s did a really good job at advertising the product and making them look way cooler than they were, like Slushy Magic. These were just cubes that you put into a cup, but the commercial made me feel like I needed to have it. I mean, look at these poor kids. They were living in before they got their Slushy Magic. Or even Worm on a String. These commercials were so interesting, they somehow made me want to own a glorified fishing fly. But there's one commercial that made me want to own the product more than any of the others. One commercial that made its product look so entertaining, so beyond human comprehension, I felt like I had to own it to truly understand it. Fushigi! Fushigi was a scam. Like, an actual scam. It was a ball that they dipped into a vat of chromium to trick you into thinking it was a Transformer's testicle or something, but there was nothing special about it. They even tried to make it seem all mystical by giving it a Japanese name, which is A, a little racist, and B, also a little on the nose. Come on, guys. The ads made it look like the ball was floating or doing all the magic, but it wasn't. The people in the video were just professional contact jugglers, which apparently caused a massive controversy and a 100-page long thread within the contact juggling community, a community that I didn't know existed until right now, and also I feel like is a little oxymoronic. Juggling implies that something is in the air. Just come up with a new name. The Fushigi commercials taught us two things: that balls are cooler on TV than in real life, and that false advertising is a legitimate form of advertising. If you're, for some reason, looking for a more ethical way to promote your products, I guess jingles are a good way to go too, because if there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that commercial jingles will never leave your head. Seriously, I am not even kidding. These stupid commercial jingles are burned inside my mind, like to the point where I still can't forget some of the phone numbers for these ads. Honestly, call 1-800-STEAMER, Stanley Steamer, your certified cleaner. I could call them right now. This isn't even the script. I'm going off page. I'm going AWOL. I'm going nuts.
Thank you for calling Stanley Steamer. Were you trying to reach somebody at Stanley Steamer?
No, that's okay.
Okay,
I have never seen a Shirley Temple movie, and I can promise you that I never plan to, but goddammit, I can tell you that there are animal crackers in my soup, including both monkeys and rabbits, loop-de-loop. I have no idea why they play this advertisement so often, especially on channels like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, because kids don't care about outdated child stars or their years of trauma at the hands of Hollywood executives. They only care about
lots and lots of jets and planes. The greatest collection of ADHD DVDs we've ever offered.
And novelty coins. These commercials kind of rode the line between being commercials and infomercials because they tended to be a lot longer than 30 seconds and were definitely a lot less interesting. But now that we've dipped our toes into these proverbial waters, why don't we just dive on in? Have you ever fallen asleep in a hotel room while watching TV and woken up at 3 a.m. to see a middle-aged man wearing jorts trapped inside an Ace Hardware?
I love refrigerators.
Yeah, me too. Welcome to the world of infomercials. As a kid, I had no idea what these commercials were or why they ran so long. I assumed it was like a Ghost Adventure situation, like they locked him in a Home Depot overnight and refused to let him out until he sold at least one washing machine.
Oh my God. Dude.
It's like a tithe. Just donate to get this poor man out of his Maytag purgatory. While the people in these ads were usually pretty nice, they never felt like they were very good at really pushing a product. In my mind, an infomercial was only as good as the salesperson behind it, and the king of salespeople was,
"Hi, Billy Mays here for Mighty Putty."
The Billy Mays commercials had some really weird energy. He was like that dad who went to his kids' soccer games just to yell at the referee, except instead of yelling stuff like, "Are you blind?" and "What was that?" until he got ejected from the park, he told them that he loved them and supported them unconditionally. And then tried to sell them burgers. The man was just aggressively congenial. I'd probably put him in my top 3 saddest deaths from the 2000s, and at least my top 108 billion deaths not related to suitcases. For some reason, I remember kids on the playground telling me that Billy Mays died because he got drop slammed by some overhead luggage, but that's not true. The autopsy determined that Billy Mays died of hypertensive heart disease, and also maybe cocaine, but I don't want to get into speculation and sully the man's image, so instead, let's talk about somebody who sullied their own image for us. Vince Offer, better known as the Shamwow guy, better known as the guy who beat the ever-living shit out of an escort in Miami, was kind of the yin to Billy Mays yang. While Mays had this endearing, fatherly sort of vibe about him, Vince had this sleazy car salesman thing going on. I mean, look at that smile. That's not the smile of someone you should trust, that's the smile of a man hiding shark teeth behind his lips. While the product he peddled itself may have been dysfunctional at best, the commercials he starred in did give us some timeless quotes such as, "I've done dirtier things than this," and "You're gonna love my nuts," and "I love Chinese people too." But, come on. I'd say that one didn't age well, but it's only a year old and never really stood a chance at aging well either. You see, our boy Vinny here had a real rags to riches and then back to rags story. After making the switch from bartering to battery, Vince disappeared for a while until making a sudden reappearance trying to profit off the pandemic by taking the extra scam wows laying around the warehouse and turning them into masks, which I guess from a financial perspective is kind of smart, but I'm not really sure if anybody was gonna see this commercial and think, "God, I can't wait to have this highly absorbent material all over my orifices." Like, I don't think this is something you want covering your mouth. And Subway had commercials with that guy too. Well, I think that just about does it for spokesmen, so fine, we can talk about the amoebophile in the room. Jared Fogle was a spokesman for Subway who reportedly lost the weight equivalent of an entire other human being simply by eating foot-long spicy Italians, and also not reportedly had unlawful sex with minors, otherwise known as an actual federal crime. But I don't like talking about this stuff, so why don't we just move on to my next section? Which I don't really know how to do. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I just kind of make outlines for these videos and start writing through them chronologically, and I can't really think of a good way to segue into the next part of the video, and I planned it way before I wrote the Jared Fogle stuff, but as tastefully as possible, I want to talk about commercials that weren't really meant for kids. And I don't mean stuff like the Gerber Life Plan, even though that technically isn't something a child really needs to have knowledge on. I'm talking more on ads that have either very suggestive or frightening content in general, so why don't we work through these ads from least upsetting to most upsetting. Up first, we've got the Kia Soul Hamster commercials. This is a good intro commercial because it isn't like scarring per se, but is also something that I've never been able to forget. I can't believe I'm actually promoting this, but if you're gonna anthropomorphize animals, just go the full furry route and make them human-like. The worst thing you can do is just make giant hamsters that move like people. I hate this and I hate the people who made it. Next up, we've got pretty much any of the Axe body spray commercials. These ads were cool because they managed to both objectify women and praise men for doing the bare minimum, like basic hygiene. And when they weren't doing either of those, they were doing this. I'm not even gonna touch that. But on the topic of candy, what was it about candy companies and having ads that made me want to crawl out of my skin? Who thought it would be a good idea to have a commercial that would make me actively associate Skittles with acne? I shouldn't have to think about Proactive every time I crack open a pack of sour Skittles. That said, I feel like I've derailed us a bit too much, so let's get back to talking about the over-sexualization of women by talking about a Super Bowl classic. How many of you actually know what GoDaddy is? Like what product are they selling? Do you know? Does Danica Patrick know? Does anybody know what? I want to talk about meth. The Meth Not Even Once ad campaign was by far the most terrifying set of commercials ever shown on television. I can't remember if these ads were shown on kids' networks or what, but I remember seeing them a lot, and they terrified me. My personal favorites are the ones where they have kids see neat little meth visions of their future selves all Smeagolfied, or show teens crashing their cars or having their chests caved in by a cinder block. These commercials took a page out of the American government's playbook and used fear-mongering to scare kids out of using meth, and you know what? Congrats, you guys succeeded. I'm never gonna try meth, but that's only because you guys made me too afraid to walk outside because your commercials showed the world as some amphetamine-ridden hellscape, so thanks, I guess. At this point in the video, you might be saying to yourself, I get it. I remember these commercials too, but what's the point? Why are we talking about all this? Well, because I needed to make a video this month. No, actually, that's it. You can change the channel now.
Fushigi, I don't know what it is, but it's the coolest thing ever, and I can do it.
Hi, I'm Tim Goey, and this is Fushigi.
As a kid, I had no idea what these commercials were or why they were so long. But that's not true. The autopsy determined that Billy Mays died of overhead luggage. God.